I don't do the most, but I do a lot. I'ma make a toast, cause we still alive. No big, I feel like Pop. I shoot a shot. I'm coming in.
Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to East Coast Rivals. I'm your host, Michael McCormick. To my right, as always, Jacob Southpaw Siesla, and still on Zoom meeting because of his MCL, Scott Braveheart Baylor. Scott, why don't you tell the lads about your knee? How's it holding up? How you doing?
It's actually feeling a little bit better. Today's been kind of rough because I kind of tweaked it earlier, but hopefully it's nothing serious at all. I don't think so. But.
All right. Well, hopefully it is nothing serious because, Scott, you got a lot to celebrate about this week. Let me be one of the first to congratulate you and the rest of your Lightning fans. I think I just threw up my mouth a little bit. Congratulations, Stanley Cup is coming home to Tampa, beating the Dallas Stars. How do you feel?
I feel pretty proud of the team that we put on out there on the ice. I know Michael is not a big fan of the Tampa Bay Lightning, but I think he knew after the Bruins series that Tampa was still the best team out there. Other than that, I think Tampa can put their name on the map that they are a true hockey town, and the support that they have in the community and what that team does for the community, and having a great owner. It feels good to finally win a championship after so many years, and especially after last year ended with a first-round sweep.
Well, congratulations. We know your boy Stamkos is probably still hammered, if you saw any of the pictures of him yesterday at the parade. Jacob, any comments? Fuck the Lightning?
No, I mean, Scott, I think, makes a valid point about Tampa Bay, even though you're upset with it. But Tampa Bay being known a little bit more for a hockey town, even though it's Florida and there's no such thing as snow here, but they have been one of the more dominant franchises over the last 20 years. Maybe not necessarily winning Stanley Cups, but I guarantee you, as far as total wins, they're probably close to the top 5 in probably the last 20 years or so of wins. So, I mean, they are kind of getting more of that prestigious, being considered maybe a hockey town. So I will agree with that.
Before we move on, I'd like to clear up the air with you two gents. Tampa Bay being a hockey town is not the reason why I can't stand the Lightning.
No, we know that.
Okay, I just wanted to say, because I'll be honest with you, Tampa Bay has turned into quite the hockey town. I mean, let's be honest. We're seeing anybody you see walking down the streets these days is wearing a Lightning hat. I mean, you don't see Rays hats very often. You don't see Bucks gear. I mean, maybe during football season, everybody's got a Lightning hat. And half the fucking community's got a Lightning tattoo now. I don't know where the hell they got the idea that it's a good idea to get a sports team tattooed on you, but who knows?
Yeah, they should ask Michael.
Exactly. Let's move away from the NHL because unfortunately we're not going to be talking about them for a little while, and it sucks. But
Actually, it's only about a month until the regular season starts, so have fun celebrating the next month because this next season starts soon, bud.
Wow, 30 solid days of celebration.
I just want to say a quick side note here before we move on. Does NHL players not know how to party when they win a championship more than any other sports franchise in any sport?
Oh, 100%. Honestly, the only person who I can think of even comparable is maybe Gronk after a Super Bowl, but that's one Gronk versus an entire NHL team. Alex Ovechkin still to this date is probably the best person I've ever seen celebrate a championship.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, Game 1 of the NBA Finals started yesterday, and goddamn did the Lakers look good. I mean, they've looked good all season, but Jesus, the Heat had no answer for them. They came out strong in the beginning, but wow, once LeBron and the boys took off, it was their game.
Well, it's now AD and the boys. AD had a game high. It was 32, 34 points, something like that. He came out lacing threes, which not many people see all the time from a 6'11 center. But it's definitely AD and the boys, and like I predicted, I still have the Lakers winning it. And honestly, with the injuries, Scott mentioned this before the podcast started, the Heat have some injuries. I know Goran Dragic has a groin injury now or something like that. Bam might be out for the series. I wouldn't be shocked if they're pulling out the brooms in LA for a little sweep action.
I don't think it's too soon to pull out the brooms.
Jimmy Butler said it best. If you want to win a championship in the NBA, you have to go through LeBron. Rather if you believe he's better than Michael Jordan or whatever you want to say, that's how it is. He's been to, 10 straight finals now, or almost 10 straight finals. and he is on a team now where he doesn't have to be the guy. He doesn't have to be the one to carry the team, which, I think in his Cleveland championship, he kind of was that. So, but now with the roster that he has in LA, I think they're going to pretty much close out the series and win 4-2.
I'd like to see the Heat pull one out, but I don't know if it's going to happen, to be honest with you. I think Jacob's right. I think the Bruins need to start getting ready.
Now, look, Jacob, can I ask you, does this help the sport of basketball where he used the comment you have to go through LeBron? Now, LeBron has been to so many finals in a row. Does it necessarily hurt the NBA, or does it necessarily help the NBA in this type of fashion to have the guy that's in the finals every single year?
With the NBA, I think it's still more of a team thing. It's more of a team dynamic of seeing the same team. Everyone was tired of Golden State. Everyone was tired of a Golden State Cleveland. Yeah, I know that's LeBron as well, but the Lakers have been pretty bad the last couple of years, so now they're relevant again. And the way we're seeing free agents leave and constantly go to different teams, there's always different teams in the finals. That, at least I think that's what we're going to start seeing over the next couple of years. So even though LeBron is still there, I don't think it really changes anything for the sport because he changed teams as well. And now he's brought another team up there. So I don't really think it's a LeBron thing that hurts the NBA. Because we all know LeBron has played on great teams. Like, when LeBron had to do it himself, yeah, they got there, but they never won. And now having Anthony Davis, having one with Wade and Bosh, having one with Kyrie and Kevin Love. I don't know. I really don't think it hurts the NBA that LeBron is there again. That's, I think, what we all expect. And then we all root for the other team. I think that's how it usually happens. In this scenario with the Lakers, I'm rooting for the Lakers because of Kobe and Anthony Davis, who deserves it more than a lot of players out there. But
yeah, and I'm really looking forward to probably next year because the Bucks. I always it's a team that we've never really seen in the NBA Finals, and they said that they're going to dip into money this year, go after and get some guys, whoever that may be, and no one's really talking about the fact that Kevin Durant is coming back next year.
Yeah. And we could see Brooklyn there. We could still see the Los Angeles Clippers being there. We could still see Golden State come back and still be a top team because they've got some really good players over there, and they're only going to reload with a top 5 draft pick. So,
what does this do for the Clippers? Because Kawhi Leonard and Paul George could both opt out of their deals.
It's possible that the Clippers could go back to being the redheaded stepchild in LA. If they do, if both of them leave, then they're definitely off the map again.
If Kawhi Leonard goes to the Los Angeles Lakers, it's just an unfair advantage at that point.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I wonder if that would ever happen.
I don't think the Lakers have the money for it.
I don't think so either. All right, guys, let's move on past the NBA and let's move into MLB. Regular season's over. Last week we talked about it. We're finishing up. Wild card rounds are going on this week, and AL and NLDS start early next week. Initial thoughts. We'll start with you, Scott.
After the first round of playoffs, I think the teams that we thought were going to win are pretty much proving that they're winning right now. The one I thought was going to be a little bit more, I thought they were going to win their series, but struggle a little bit with the Cleveland Indians versus the Yankees. I thought the Indians would give the Yankees a little bit harder time, but obviously I was wrong on that. I actually have enjoyed the playoffs. Some of the players have enjoyed it as well. I think they don't really like playing at noon or whatever for their playoff games and stuff like that, but because that's they're so used to. They made a good comparison today. Like, some players don't even sleep. They sleep past noon, and now they're playing at noon. So it's something that the players are adjusting to, but I think they're done well. I can't wait to see for the next round where they go to Houston and Los Angeles, where teams are going to be playing in ballparks that are not their home field.
Yeah, I have to say, I feel like personally the bubble made sense in the NBA and the bubble made sense in the NHL. I don't think it makes sense in the MLB. I think they made a whole season, or technically a half a season, playing in their home, traveling, not contracting COVID, doing it the right way, minus the Marlins. I don't understand why now they're going to a bubble, playing on a foreign field, and what the purpose is and what benefit this has for the league.
I think the only benefit is to make sure that they finish. I think that's the only benefit. And I don't know if the original plan was to do the bubble at the beginning of the season, or if they were still toying with that idea. And then I think when we started to have the cases with Miami and everything, and then every team that they played, St. Louis, Philly, Washington, whoever, I know the Mets had a few as well. So I think maybe they're just trying to, okay, we had a little scare. Let's condense everything again to a bubble, and let's finish out the season. Again, I don't recall.
All along was to do something like this. They didn't have an idea where, but they had an idea that they wanted to do something like this for the playoffs. It's interesting because AL, like Oakland and White Sox, whoever wins that, they are playing in Dodger Stadium. And Dodgers are the number one seed in the NL, and they're going to go to Houston and play in Houston. They're playing in Arlington, sorry. They're going to play in Rangers ballpark, a ballpark that people are not used to playing. Like, you're playing on AstroTurf now instead of playing your home ballpark grass. So there's a little difference there too, and it's going to be harder for pitchers where they're used to their ballpark as well, and now they're going to a hitter's ballpark possibly.
Is Houston? Well, it's not Houston. It's the Rangers. I was just thinking that in that scenario, they're just trying to make it an Evo level playing field for everyone, which is why they're putting the Dodgers not playing in their hometown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But the mindset of a player now is that they have to adjust, where a pitcher has to change his format on the way he pitches to certain batters, and defensive players have to get used to the field that they're playing in, feeling out how to see the ball inside of domes. Like the Atlanta Braves are going to go play in Houston. That's inside of a dome. The lighting's different. Things are different there.
Well, does that not make it a little extra bit of unknown and a little more competitiveness, because now it's not just one team is playing at a neutral site. They are all playing a neutral site. So it's really fair game for everyone playing differently.
I'm not saying one has an advantage over another person. I'm just saying it's going to be challenging for some of these players to adjust at first. And it is an even playing field, but I'm saying both sides of the field, they're going to have to adjust to that.
It's Darwinism, survival of the fittest. Best team that can make adjustments is going to win.
And I do like how they're having American League teams go and play in NL ballpark in Dodgers, and they're having an NL ballpark players going to play in an AL ballpark. So they haven't really been playing there before, and it's going to be interesting to see. So.
All right, guys, this just in. The ALDS is set. We already knew that Tampa Bay was playing the New York Yankees, and now Houston Astros are going to be playing the Oakland Athletics. Game just finished. Again, this podcast could be broadcasted tomorrow, so the game will already be over. But we just found out today. So, initial reactions. Breaking news time. Let's hear it.
I think we're going to see a Yankees-Oakland A's ALCS.
Interesting.
That's
a bold prediction.
I'm still sticking. I'm still staying strong with the Tampa Bay Rays going to the ALCS against Oakland now. I just feel like their pitching will overpower the Yankees. I am interested to see how this goes. And I just want to say a quick side note. If Tampa does win the World Series, anybody that lives in the Tampa area that wears a Braves hat, fucking y'all are bandwagon motherfuckers, because nobody goes to any of your games, and as soon as they go to the World Series, y'all want to jump on that bandwagon every fucking year. So, just a quick sidebar on that.
All right. That being said, I am going opposite ALCS predictions of Jacob. I think it's going to be a Rays Houston ALCS.
Oh, God.
All I know is those last two games, I heard a lot of trash cans.
You think they'll get caught again?
Houston is not they were below 500. I just don't see, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is the right time, they're getting hot, whatever. But originally I had picked Houston. I mean, they did beat Minnesota, but I mean,
Minnesota's lost 18 in a row postseason games. Say what you will about that, that had to be in their mind a little bit when they were playing the Houston Astros. And a lot of their players, you can say what they will, they've been in this scenario before.
I just think Oakland played a better baseball all year. I have to stick with the team that's played better baseball.
All right. So
Which
Scott,
I know is a contradictory of picking the Yankees over the Rays.
a little bit.
Just a little.
Yeah. So Scott, you said Tampa Bay. What do we have for the Houston Athletics?
I'm still picking. I think it's going to be a tight one because it now becomes a 5-game series, correct?
You are correct.
So I think it's going to come down to the last game between the Houston Astros and Athletics. Athletics are a good team, but they're still that Moneyball team where they need to have that one player stand up and actually perform for them, and that's always been the one thing they're lacking. If they have that one player, maybe Piscotty or Chris Davis actually shows up and their pitching holds up, they could possibly do it. But I still believe that the Athletics are just a better baseball team in general.
All right, so you got Tampa Bay and Athletics. Switching over to the NL. The NLDS stage is not quite set yet. Give it another day or two and we will have our teams. But the only team that is in the NLDS is Scott's having a good week, the Atlanta Braves.
Woo! Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up.
Miami is currently leading the Cubs in 1 game in a best-of-3 series. St. Louis is currently leading the Padres in 1 game in a best-of-3. And the Dodgers are currently leading the Brewers in 1 game best-of-3 series.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Padres come back and win tonight and then win Game 3 to take that series.
I agree with that.
They have been the better team all season. You're bound to lose 1 game in the playoffs here and there. So I like the Padres. I like the Dodgers. And Miami's played some really good baseball this year. I would not be shocked if Miami comes away with a win.
I could see them beating the Cubs.
Yeah, Cubs have not done surprising. They haven't really hit the ball very well at home for some reason this year. It would be interesting to see the Marlins and the Braves because Marlins and Braves kind of went back and forth this year, so that'd be interesting to see that matchup. The Padres, to me, I feel like they're a good story, but the problem is that they literally don't have that many people that have been in the postseason. They have Eric Hosmer, and other than that, I can't really think of anybody else on that team that's been in the postseason. So I think they're still in a little bit of an awe because they're a team that they weren't supposed to be here, and they are.
Mm-hmm.
So
I will tell you that I am rooting for Chicago to win only because I will be in Chicago next week, and that's going to be one hell of a party to go watch some of those games in the Chicago bars.
Yeah, you definitely have fun doing that.
If Chicago does win, it gives the Braves even more of a rest, and it'll be interesting to see how they do their postseason roster again. So
when you go watch those games, just make sure you have your Mets jersey on. All right.
No, I'm not gonna. I'm not trying to do that.
That's a good call. All right, guys. Closing statements on baseball before we move on. Scott, you first.
So far, I feel like having almost 16 teams and 8 games a day, it's been great if you're a baseball junkie, and I can't wait to see how the next round goes.
Jacob?
I still got the Dodgers winning though. That's all I got.
All right. Let's move on, guys. Let's transition away from the MLB and let's move into our biggest and last segment, typical of us, moving into the NFL. So, last week turned out nothing like I expected. I'm pretty sure I got one of my 5 pick'ems correct. Scott went 5 for 5, and Jacob did all right. I don't even know what he did. But let's talk one team from last week, or one game from last week that really stood out to you and why. Jacob, go first.
I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, the Atlanta Falcons.
The Atlanta Falcons, they are 0-3 for the first time in the Matt Ryan era, which maybe is a little alarming since he's been there for so long. I have to wonder if maybe it's time for the Falcons to think about their future and what they want to do at the quarterback position. But also, in back-to-back weeks, you blow a double-digit second-half lead. I mean, something's got to change. I just don't understand how you can have that double-digit lead in the second half and still lose the game in back-to-back weeks. It's not like it had happened in the Super Bowl a couple years ago with the Patriots. Like, you can understand the jitters in the second half Super Bowl. Patriots made adjustments. It's Tom Brady in the clutch. You could see how a team like Atlanta, who has no experience, maybe falters. But now here we are in the regular season, and you know what? Yeah, they do it the previous week against Seattle, it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then the week after against Chicago. I know Chicago's 3-0, but they had to go to their backup quarterback, who is probably better than their starter. But either way, like, Chicago is not a team that a lot of people thought would be over 500 going at the end of the season. So Atlanta has to figure out what they need to do, not just defensively, but offensively. You can't tell me that you're not able to move the ball all of a sudden in the second half and score with that double-digit lead. They have to be a little more aggressive instead of conservative, and be smarter with trying to pick up first downs instead of, we're just going to run the ball up the middle first, second, and then throw on third down. That is so predictable in the NFL. Do a screen on second down. Do something different. Try to change the offense and be a little more aggressive in the second half. Because I guarantee you, if they score one touchdown in the second half, they still win the game. Because it kills momentum.
That's what they needed against Dallas. That's what they needed against Chicago.
So that's my takeaway from week 3.
Well, unfortunately for the Falcons, they got a pretty tough matchup Monday night against the Packers. But before we get into that, Scott, let's hear what your big standout was from last week's week 3.
I was going back and forth on this. I was going to probably say something about Josh Allen and his performance, but I wanted to switch to the Chicago Bears. Say what you will about Mitchell Trubisky, about the way he plays and everything. I still feel like he was still playing good football, not great football, but he was still doing enough, not turning over the ball, and still was performing. And he still didn't have bad numbers up to that point. And then I think they jumped the gun so fast on just saying, hey, it's Nick Foles' job now. No, nothing against Nick Foles and everything. I don't know if it played into the fact that they're paying this guy $20 million to sit on their bench or what they're going to do. I feel like they pulled the trigger too fast, especially when Mitchell Trubisky has led them on comebacks both games. So, and if you look at his stats are really not that bad this year and throughout his career. So, I feel like they jumped too fast on putting Nick Foles in. Will it work out? It might work out, but I just feel like they hit the emergency button too soon.
So before Michael goes into his week 3 takeaway, question for you, Scott. I mean, the Bears are 3-0. We've seen Trubisky play. We've seen Foles play. Do you think that maybe this would be a scenario that Chicago decides to play the hot hand at the right time?
Yes. I feel like they're going with that. If that was the case, I don't know why they did what they did at that point. Because, like I said, if you look at his numbers are really not that bad. He had 2 comeback victories to start off the year, and it just out of nowhere, he just came to him and was like, "Hey, you're out," and Nick Foles is in.
Well, I think it was just the fact that they were down 26-10 in the second half, and they're like, "Well, if we try Nick Foles and he doesn't do well, we'll just go right back to Trubisky." And it started to work. So I do agree. I do think it's going to be a hot hand type of thing. If Nick Foles starts to struggle, I don't think they're going to hesitate to put Trubisky in.
But the problem with that is that you are also, what is that really saying to your team at the same time?
Hey, if you're winning games on 3-0, it doesn't really matter who's the quarterback. I mean, I don't think any of us expect them to keep this going or make it to the playoffs. But either way, I mean,
playoffs.
Yeah, they're 3-0. So whatever Matt Nagy is doing right now, switching back and forth, maybe it'll work for the time being.
We'll find out.
There's a lot of questions going on in the NFL, so we'll wait and see.
Yep. I know a lot of loyal Chicago fans who are real excited right about now. So for me last week, there was a lot of games that were really exciting to watch, ones that came down to the wire, and big standout games to kind of jumpstart a really wonderful season for any team, including Chicago, starting out 3-0 like that. But the one game that I want to circle back to was one of our pick'em games from last week, the primetime Packers versus Saints. And the reason I want to talk about this is because do you think, first of all, the New Orleans Saints need to start thinking about hitting the panic button and figuring out something else to do? Yes or no? Just quick.
No.
A little too early?
No.
All right. Reason I ask is because, as we've talked about last week, I had the Saints to win the game. I thought Drew Brees was going to come back, play at home, win the game, and I didn't realize how bad of an impact COVID really has in the NFL right now. Because things have been going rather normal. I feel like, not having fans hasn't been the best, but it really stood out to me watching that game, watching Aaron Rodgers do what he does. Sit there and run the hard count the entire game and drew them off sides. I want to say it was about 5 times, 2 of which went for big plays. That doesn't happen in that stadium. That doesn't happen in that dome if there were fans. They would be silent counts the entire game. And the fact that Aaron Rodgers had one of his biggest weapons, which is his voice, oddly enough to say, is a huge reason why they won that game. Not taking anything away from the Packers because they played amazing. But I feel like the Saints had a better opportunity if they had fans in the crowd, as crazy as that may sound.
It looks like to me when Drew Brees is throwing, he has no trust. He had trust with Michael Thomas. He doesn't have trust with Emmanuel Sanders. He doesn't have trust with some of these guys. You can see the way he throws, where he'll look at a guy and feel like, do I need to throw this? It's like if it was Michael Thomas, he wouldn't even think about it. Now he still has to build that trust with Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, and that goes back to why I'm not hitting the panic button. It's because Michael Thomas hasn't played the last 2 weeks. When Michael Thomas was playing, they blew out Tampa. Now, I know Tampa, that was their first game, and COVID is hitting everyone because we know Tampa is going to get better because Brady needs that timing with the receivers. But it's also the same thing with Drew Brees. With not having Michael Thomas, even though he's had Traquan Smith on his team for a while, Traquan is still only in his 3rd year, usually when receivers start to take off. Emmanuel Sanders, brand new. So they're still getting on the same page with each other as far as weapons go, the receivers and everything. So we're really seeing the impact of COVID. We're also seeing the impact of no Michael Thomas. And not to mention, they've had to play 2 pretty solid teams back-to-back weeks, the Packers and the Raiders, who are both a combined record of 5-1. So I think as the Saints have some matchups that are a little bit easier, when they play Carolina twice, I think we expect them to win both of those games. So I don't think it's too early to hit that panic button. I think it's too early.
I agree. I just wanted you guys to take on it.
You definitely saw some highlights there where Emmanuel Sanders caught a touchdown. Then after that touchdown, he started throwing the ball more to Emmanuel Sanders.
Oh, that trust will grow.
Yeah, that trust is going to grow. But as of right now, it's like his security blanket's not there. So he doesn't know who his security blanket is.
It's Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, it's Alvin Kamara, but Alvin Kamara can't beat a whole team by himself.
No, he can't.
From the line of scrimmage.
Although, that 30-yard run.
He had 13 receptions.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's move away from week 3 because it's over, and we're moving on to week 4. What's a big preview game you guys want to bring up that you're excited to watch this weekend? Jacob, we'll start with you.
So I got the Cowboys and Browns this week. Browns 2-0, but I really want to focus more on the Cowboys, a team that's 1-2, but yet they're 2 losses on the road against 2 tough teams in the Rams and the Seahawks. Again, a combined record of 5-1. So, and they've all been close games. They had the come from behind win over Atlanta, but a close loss to Seattle, a close loss to LA. And they play a Browns team that, even though it's the Browns, and we always talk every year about it's the Browns, they're always going to fade out. Well, they're 2-1 right now. Granted, some of their wins are also loaded with Washington and Cincinnati, but they're 2-1. They're what we would consider right now a playoff team. So if you're Dallas, if you are going to be the playoff team and the NFC East champion that everyone wants to say that they are, they need to come out this week and prove that they can beat who is considered a playoff team. And then if they can win this game, their next 4 weeks, they play the Giants, winnable game. The Cardinals, a winnable game because we saw this past weekend with Kyler Murray, his inconsistency against Detroit, and they lost that game. So that's a winnable game. Washington and Philly, all winnable games. So if they can steal that, if they can get this win over Cleveland, they could potentially have a 5-game winning streak, which would then put them back to where a lot of people will say that they are the best team in that division. They are a playoff team, so on and so forth. So this, to me, is potentially a huge week for them to get them in that direction for the playoffs.
All right, Scott.
The game I wanted to see is the Indianapolis Colts versus the Chicago Bears. To see Tripod Nick out there, to see him out there, to see what he does, and if he doesn't perform well, especially Indianapolis Colts defense is really good. With Rucker and all them, they are really good defense. And you can start to see a quiet swagger with that team with Phillip Rivers. They're starting to play good football right now. So they're under the radar as a team that people need to look out for.
All right, my big highlight game that I'm looking forward to watching this weekend is the LA Chargers versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. LA Chargers are at 1-2. The reason I picked this game is because those 1-2 games, minus maybe Carolina, they were damn close games, and they almost beat the seemingly unstoppable Chiefs when Herbert went into the game. I feel like he's going to hit a point where he starts getting real hot, and the Chargers are going to be a tough team. And I still feel like the Bucs are trying to figure everything out. They're playing well. They're getting wins. But their hardest matchup so far has been the Saints, and they lost them. I feel like this is going to be one of their more difficult games that they play this season, and I'll be very curious to see the outcome of this game. I still think the Bucs will end up taking it, but I think it's going to be damn close, and I will not be surprised if the Chargers end up pulling it out.
It's going to come down to what defense steps up and plays better.
100%. All right, guys. Anybody ready to transition into our power rankings? Because I can't wait to see how much these changed from last week.
Well, before we do that, I do want to bring up an event that occurred this week in which the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tennessee Titans game got postponed due to Tennessee Titan players testing positive for coronavirus. This, to me, is the first and hopefully last, but this is like the first real scare of what could threaten an NFL season, in my opinion. Because when do they make that up? I mean, yeah, they can take their bye weeks now, but that doesn't necessarily mean that their bye weeks later on matched up so they could easily just reschedule the game. So now what do you make it to where you start changing everyone's schedule to make it work, which could happen, but they need to make a decision soon. Do you hold a week 18 where any other games that are postponed, that's their makeup, and you give everyone a week off from week 17 to the playoffs? Or do you decide, both of these teams are in the playoffs, their seeding doesn't matter, we're just going to skip it and we're just going to jump into the playoffs? I don't know. I don't know if they've had these conversations, but to me, this is a huge scare, because if this happens to another team, and God forbid it happens again to the Steelers or the Titans, now they're making up 2 games, which we know that's going to be extremely difficult to make up. It's not like baseball where they can play a doubleheader. Players will throw fits if they have to play on a Thursday and a Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think right now it's not time to panic about COVID and the cause of COVID to the NFL. But this is definitely a warning sign, because if this does continue to happen, this is a very strong possibility that it could ruin the NFL season.
I think it's a one-strike policy for both Tennessee and Pitt, because, yeah, this one game, we can overcome it. Now everyone gets serious about it. This is a big warning. But if it happens again, that's when I'm like, okay, what are we doing? How is it fair for everyone else? Because if Pittsburgh has to make up 2 games later on, they're going to be gassed while the other teams had 2 weeks off before going into the playoffs. So it's really, I feel like it's a one strike. This happens once, and it cannot happen again, especially for Tennessee and Pitt.
Before we get your take on it, Scott, because I know you can't wait to chime in on this, my one thought process was, this was found out, yesterday, that they tested positive for COVID? The entire team gets tested regularly. Was it yesterday or the day before?
They figured out after Sunday after the game, they figured out there was positive test. And then Monday came, they did a bunch of testing. And then Tuesday, they did more testing. And a personnel player and a player tested positive.
Okay. So I did not know that additional players continued to test positive, because I was going to say if a group of players tested positive and then 2 days later tested everyone else and they all came up negative, why would you not have the game on Sunday? But I did not know that continuous players are testing positive. Scott, let me hear your take on this, because I'm sure you're pissed you can't watch your Steelers this weekend.
It is very frustrating, but at the same time, there's a lot of takes to drink this in, because they have prepared for this. All preseason, all offseason, NFL teams have gone up and beyond. NFL has gone up and beyond to make sure these players go through the right testing and still able to play football. They've done a great job, okay? And then they also has been said that the Tampa Bay is hosting the Super Bowl this year. They've had it extended from hotels and stuff like that they are planning, if we needed to push the NFL season further, if it was bound to happen for anything like this. So the players know, or were told, if this could have happened, like this could happen. There has to be some more accountability on the Tennessee Titans, because we had 0 players throughout the entire NFL that did not test positive. And then now we have people in the Tennessee Titans organization. We need to figure out how this disease got contracted, because they haven't been able to see their families. They've been keeping it close-lipped.
I'm pretty sure they're allowed to see their families.
Do what?
I said I'm pretty sure they are allowed to see their family.
They are, but they've been locked down, meaning it's very hard. There has to be more accountability, though, because it's more or less more the personnel than the players that have been tested positive. Because the players that were tested positive were a long snapper, a third-string tight end, and a backup defensive tackle. None of these players actually will see none of the starters actually contracted the disease. It's the players that have not been getting any playing time, which, they probably went off and left the hotel when they weren't supposed to, or something like that. I think there should be more accountability on the Tennessee Titans, and it may send a scare, but I don't think it need to be panicking.
All right, who wants to start off with their number 5? And I can't wait to see how many of these changed from last week. Scott, let's hear your number 5.
My number 5 was going to be the Buffalo Bills, but their defense is not as good as I thought it was. They showed that on Sunday. But I'm going with TB12 and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with what they did on Sunday and the positive signs that they're showing defensively. Their defense is very underrated. That running game's getting going, and Tom Brady's getting more comfortable out there. So they're my number 5 team as of right now.
All right, Jacob.
I had the tough decision between those two as well, but I went with Buffalo. I think Buffalo has played better competition. I think they've won. The win over the Rams, I think, even though they had a 28-7 lead and blew the lead, and they won off of a call that I think should have been a penalty, but not a pass interference call. Should have been a holding penalty, which instead of 1st and goal at the 3, it's 1st and goal at the 8. So who knows if they win that game if that call is changed. I have them at number 5. Tampa, as good as they looked against Denver last week, Denver is an injury-riddled team. They played against Jeff Driscoll and Brett Rippon, who are 2 quarterbacks that might be out of the league next year or the year after. So the defense looking good against them, that's not really a surprise. Cortland Sutton didn't play. Phillip Lindsay didn't play. The offensive line, when you're playing with these quarterbacks, it's not going to matter. They're going to be blitzing all day long. So the Bucks defensively did what they should have done, but the offense only put up 26 points, and the defense was on the field. Denver's defense was on the field virtually the entire game. So I'm not sold just yet on Tampa, I think they'll get there. I think this week is another stepping stone, another good matchup for them with the Chargers and that Chargers defense. If the Bucs can put up around 28 points against the Chargers defense, then we really know that offense is really starting to roll. And the defense, if they continue to play well, we can see it switch. But for now, I like Buffalo.
So I had a close race for 5 as well. And ironically enough, one of the teams was Buffalo. The other was not Tampa. It was Pittsburgh. So my number 5 is Buffalo, and I'm sticking with Buffalo for 2 reasons. One, they are playing well. Stupid mistakes are going to be a problem with them if they can't fix those. But once they do, they're going to be close to, if not unstoppable. And the only reason I didn't pick the Steelers is because of strength of schedule. Both teams right now are 3-0. I feel like Pittsburgh has not played the same strength of teams that Buffalo has. And I know you bring up the game that they blew the lead and won off a risky call, but they won off a team that was in my honorable mentions. The LA Rams would be like a 7 if we did a top 10. So it's tough to go against them right now. Will that change in the future? Probably. I'm pretty sure half of my top 5s have changed already. So we'll see. Scott, let me hear your number 4.
Number 4 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I still am sticking with the Pittsburgh Steelers, not just because I'm a homebody, but the fact is, watching that game, there's offenses in this league where at a flip of a switch, they can put up 40 on them. Chiefs being one, Packers being another, it doesn't matter. But Steelers defense, what they did, they weren't, their secondary was a little struggling in that first half, but then they went into that locker room and they came out in the second half and held the Texans, Deshaun Watson and everybody, to 46 yards of offense. No one rush defense as well, only giving up 45 yards a game. So what they're doing right now is very impressive, and that offense is slowly getting better each week. And a lot of people don't know this. 3 weeks in a row, they've averaged 100 yards rushing per game. So they're my number 4 team.
Jacob, number 4.
So my number 4 is also the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, okay.
I had a tough call between 4, 5, and 6 with Pitt, Buffalo, and Tampa. And the reason why I decided to stick with the Steelers over Buffalo was, I had Pittsburgh at number 5 last week, so they win. They should move up with Baltimore losing if we're going by like college football rankings. But the reason why I stuck with Pittsburgh over Buffalo, those stupid mistakes you were talking about. Ben Roethlisberger is not going to make those mistakes that Josh Allen's going to make.
You are correct.
So from an offensive standpoint, Pittsburgh should be a more consistent offense. And defensively, Scott was just putting up the stats right there. Second half, they shut down Houston after giving up 21 points in the first half. They can make that adjustment at halftime and then be completely dominant for a whole half, which with an offense that's not going to make many mistakes and they're going to be consistent, if your defense can shut out a team for an entire half, you're going to win a lot of football games. So I have Pitt there at 4, and if they continue to do what they're doing because of that defense, the main thing that Pittsburgh has over my other 3 teams ahead of them is the defense. So we could see Pittsburgh move up, but we got to see.
We can't this week.
Yeah. But Juju was listed as questionable. He was limited in practice this week. So we talked about this last week. The key to the Steelers' success is health. And if Juju's not able to play, if Connor has some type of injury that we know he always does, that could create some issues. But I have Pitt at 4.
All right. All I could say about
Juju had that same issue, but he was able to play on Sunday. So.
All I could say about Pittsburgh is you guys can keep talking about their defense, but let's be honest, TJ Watt is mediocre at best. Probably 3rd best Watt brother in the NFL.
Well, I wish you had a pass rusher on that New England defense.
You are correct. My number 4, the Baltimore Ravens, dropped a few spots in my top 5 rankings because of a very underwhelming performance, if I must say. Now, I get that you're playing the Kansas City Chiefs, arguably, if not the best team in the league. But watching Lamar Jackson in primetime is like watching a Lamar Jackson his freshman year in college. It's just a different person from what you see week to week. I'm not. I was big on them last week. I picked them to beat the Chiefs. Granted, part of me just wants to see the Chiefs lose, but I was big on them last week, and just it didn't happen. That being said, they are still one of the best teams in the NFL. That defense, though looking a little rough last week, is another defense that's one of the top 5, top 10 in the league. And when Lamar gets going, he's virtually unstoppable. That running game is impressive, and his passing is getting better, so I did not kick them out of my top 5. We'll give them a couple weeks, but we'll see what happens. Number 3.
Before we go to number 3, Scott, do you have a rebuttal to this? Because I know you want to say something.
Yeah, his passing has not gotten better. This is a prime example right here where if they don't have the running game to set up the pass, he can't make up the big-time plays. If they said the stat today, when they are up by 10, they have like a 22-4 record or something outrageous like that with him. But when they're down by 10, they're 0-12 in those games. He's not very consistent when it comes to put the team on my shoulders, throw the ball. And he was 28 passes for 97 yards.
So for me, and honestly, I'm surprised Scott didn't bring this up because you made the point that their defense is still top in the league. Maybe they were top last year, but as far as their strength of schedule, Kansas City was the first good team they played, and they gave up 34 points. The other 2 teams that they played were cupcakes.
Yeah.
So I don't think we can go on the record just yet saying that the Ravens have a top 5, top 10 defense.
But if we were currently looking at stats.
Yeah, because they haven't played anybody. But when they play a playoff team,
Trust me, I want Baltimore out of my top 5 too.
Then why didn't you do it?
Because I can't.
I just want to say they are not in my top 5.
They're not in mine.
Well, I figured. Let's be honest. I'm pretty sure all 3 of us have the same 3, 2, and 1.
Yeah.
So how you put it.
Yeah.
Well,
Speaking of that, number 3. Who wants to go first? Just kidding. Scott, go first.
I'm gonna put that with the Green Bay Packers.
All right, Jacob, go ahead. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I got the Green Bay Packers. I got the Green Bay Packers also. I think we're going to agree on the next 3 here.
The Green Bay Packers, to me, is the same as my number 2 team. They are cardiac. Their defense is cardiac arrest. When you have a team, I know it's good quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, future Hall of Famer and everything. If they did not have him on their team, I don't know where this team would be, because they need to score almost every time they have the ball, because their defense is very inconsistent. It may get better throughout the year, but right now they're giving up big plays, and they're not as good as everybody thought they were. But their offense with the play action with Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams and Aaron freaking Rodgers out there, they are a good team offensively. If their defense can pick it up, you can see them in Tampa this year.
I mean, I agree with everything. Obviously, again, like I said, I have them as my number 3 as well. And again, it's because of the defense. I don't think the defense makes enough plays, whereas the other team that I have at number 2, which, spoiler alert, it's Seattle, but I feel like their defense makes a little more plays. I think has more talent of guys who can make clutch plays. Again, you don't have to be good all the time. You just have to be good enough at the right time. So far, Green Bay has been able to do it. They're 3-0. But at some point, I feel like the Packers defense will start to let them down.
I actually disagree with you guys. So you have Seattle at 2. You have Green Bay at 3. I have those swapped. I have Seattle at 3. Now, not taking a single thing away from who should win unanimously MVP this year. And I know it's crazy to say that this early in the season, but I feel like Russell Wilson deserves it already. I mean, guy has already broken records, and we're in week 3. I mean, what was the record he broke? Throwing 5 consecutive touchdown passes in the first 3 games of the season, something nuts like that. I mean, he's out there.
14 touchdowns in the first 3 games.
He's out there just killing the defenses of the other teams, including my Patriots. But very similar to the reasons you guys are putting the Packers at 3, their defense just does not look strong enough. Yeah, they're making plays here and there, but they're not making the difference in the game. The offense is making the difference in the game. But the offense is so strong that they haven't had anybody be able to stop them yet. The fact that, nothing against the Cowboys because they played good football last week, but the fact that the Cowboys were still in the game in the fourth quarter was a shock to me.
And I think that goes a little bit on the Seattle offense because their defense, they had a 2-score lead. And then the offense was getting 3 and outs. And so the defense was making...
They still scored 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, I know that. But if we're talking about the offenses, I mean, Seattle and Green Bay, we all agree that they have elite offenses. Elite quarterbacks that are going to score 30-plus points a game. At least you should. But Seattle's defense, it wasn't a shootout. It wasn't back and forth like it was with New Orleans and Green Bay. Seattle's, Dallas had to make some type of comeback in that game because the defense was making enough plays early on to give them that cushion.
All right. I mean, hey, I got him at 3.
That's why I like their defense more. And the defense, I think, will get better for Seattle because Jamal Adams was just traded there. Their cohesiveness, I think, is going to get better as a unit. They have more talent defensively than Green Bay does. Green Bay might have the more talent offensively.
And that is exactly why I have them at 2. I have Green Bay at 2 because their offense is, I feel like, more talented. Now, if you sat there and put Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson in front of me and I had to pick a quarterback, what?
You're taking Russell Wilson. No, but I was saying, you said before the reason you were picking them is the defense, and now you're switching it to the offense.
No, I said the reason I'm picking Seattle at 3 is because of their defense. I'm not saying I'm picking Green Bay at 2 because of their defense. I'm picking Green Bay at 2 because of the fact that I don't know when the fuck they got such a good running game,
Aaron Jones,
but that has made all the difference in their game. They haven't had a good running back since skinny Eddie Lacy. I mean, and now they got Aaron Jones in there. I
think I go further back and maybe say Ahman Green.
Okay, maybe.
With Brett Favre.
But the Green Bay went into the Saints' home, went into New Orleans, and honestly made them look silly. The only reason that the game wasn't as big of a difference as it was is because Green Bay's defense unfortunately let up a couple late touchdowns. Should have been a blowout the way they were playing. So I have them at number 2, and I'm sticking with it, and I bet they're going to stay there next week. Scott.
Oh, yeah, because they play Atlanta. That's an easy win.
Why do you get it? Why? That was such a good closing point. You had to ruin it, bring it up Atlanta.
Sorry.
Scott, go ahead. You look a little creepy back there.
I have Seattle on number 2. For the same reasons I said about Green Bay, the same reasons about Seattle. You have a team now, which I think Green Bay's defense could eventually figure it out. Seattle's defense, I don't know. They look, with Jamal Adams out there, he's kind of injured now with a groin. We got to wait and see how that plans out. But right now, Russell Wilson's playing on a certain level that we've never seen before by a quarterback. And if they can get that going, and the running game needs to get going a little bit more with Chris Carson, I could see them challenging for the NFC Championship game. But if they don't figure out on the back end on their defense and stuff like that and get more of a pass rush, eventually their luck's going to, not really luck, but Russell Wilson can't score every single time he has the ball. Eventually your defense has to make plays. So
I think it's really, we're splitting hairs here. It's tight. It's a 2A, 2B. Like we all agree that if these two teams, if they're on the right side of it, they're going to play each other in an NFC Championship game. I mean, at least right now. If we were projecting off of 3 weeks, that's what we would say.
They play each other this season.
I mean, they might.
I said the comment to both of you. The NFC is literally like Seattle, Tampa, and Green Bay. You look at the AFC, that's a wide open horse race right there. It is a wide open race.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's wide open because who we all have as our unanimous number 1 team in the power rankings, which I had last week.
All right, are we going to number 1? Hold on. Are we going to number 1? Everybody ready? We're going to say it on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. The Miami Dolphins. No, you guys aren't on the same page as me. All right, whatever.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Kansas Shitty.
No, I said it last week. They were my number 1. They proved their point Monday night against what a lot of people, like Michael's number 1 team in Baltimore. And just like that, they're outside of his top 5. Wow.
They're not outside. They're 4.
Oh, well, top 3, whatever. Either way.
The reason why I said it's wide open, there's a reason why I said that. Is because you can't, like, yeah, I have Kansas City as my number 1, but the problem is that there's two teams out there where I feel like I'm wanting to wait and see if Kansas City faces one. It's the Tennessee Titans and then the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers blitz on 70% of their plays. So I want to see how that turns out with Kansas City. I don't like how I'm not taking anything away from Kansas City. I like Kansas City, but let's not shout out the Lombardi already for them until they face teams like that. And plus, we have another wild card team now, too, in each playoff bracket. So we just have to wait and see.
Listen, nobody's shining the Lombardi Trophy for them, but at this very moment, I think it's safe to say that they are clearly number 1. I mean, there's no team that has.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
There's no team that's shown a weakness for them. I feel like maybe the Chargers, but they still won in overtime. They still gave Patrick Mahomes the ball, and Patrick Mahomes did what he does.
By a rookie mistake.
Yeah.
And we talked about it last week. The Chiefs didn't have a game plan for Justin Herbert because they've never seen him. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's why they struggled defensively.
Baltimore didn't really blitz against Kansas City. They played man coverage, and they were playing scared. And
he picked it apart.
Another reason why I don't think Baltimore's defense is as great.
Okay, I don't. That's my point. I was just saying. I'm just saying. They played scared. You can't go against Kansas City playing scared. So until they face the number 1 defense in football right now, which I think Pittsburgh, it's just going to be wait and see. I'm not saying Pittsburgh's going to beat them. I'm just saying it's going to be interesting to see.
Kansas City play Pittsburgh this year?
In the AFC Championship game, they will.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Wow. Okay. You guys got to win your division first, bud.
We're in first place, aren't we?
All right, guys. Let's move on. Let's go over to our pick'ems. So we do this every week. Current standings are, Jacob.
Scott and I, as Scott alluded to earlier, he was a perfect 5 for 5 last week. Congratulations. He's had a really good week this week.
He has.
Braves, Lightning, going 5 for 5. We'll see if it happens again.
Didn't tear his MCL this week.
But
kicking the dick with the Steelers COVID thing, though.
But he's still tied with me for the lead. Michael,
I gotta step up.
Are you sandbagging this or what?
Hard.
Both Scott and I have 7 correct picks. Michael has 3.
Yep. I am far behind.
Michael's got to pick it up.
I don't know if it's time to start putting out some bold predictions and just praying, or if I stay consistent, just keep doing what I'm saying.
Talking about bold predictions. I mean, let's get right into it. It's a Thursday night. I got my Jets gear on. I'm predicting a win for the Jets tonight.
Win for the Jets.
A win for the Jets. I'm circling it.
All right.
I've got the Jets winning against Denver, and here's why. Brett Rippon making his first career NFL start. He was bad last week in his little substitution backup playing time. If he doesn't play well, who do they go to? Jeff Driscoll? Blake Bortles, who was signed last week, who doesn't know the playbook? It doesn't look good for Denver. Defensively, everyone thinks Denver's defense is good. They have not forced turnovers this year, and they've given up more points than the Jets have this year so far. I believe that my stat is correct. Maybe it's off. But yardage-wise, either way, they're not generating turnovers. They're just defensively not what they used to be. The Jets, Adam Gase is on the hot seat. He knows his ass is on the line. They need to win this game. I feel like this game means more to them than it does for Denver. We'll see if Sam Darnold can come back from it. Now, granted, I'm picking the Jets to win, which usually means they're going to lose. However, I'm being bold tonight. I'm taking my Jets. I like their chances against a depleted Denver Broncos offense.
All right, so there's a 1-point comeback. I'm going with the Denver Broncos. Sorry, buddy. I know you're a big diehard Jets fan. You guys have not looked good this year at all. Denver's defense has not, they haven't looked bad. I don't know why you're trashing them so hard. They've been playing pretty well.
Statistically, it's not as good as you think.
It's not as good as you think because their stud is out all season. Fucking, what the hell's his name? Why am I drawing a blank right now?
Von Miller played last week.
What?
Didn't he play?
Who?
I thought Von Miller's been out.
I thought Von Miller was playing.
All right, I might have to look
Miller's
that
out
up.
for the year.
I thought
he was out for the year too.
I thought I
Thank
saw
you.
him in the game against Tampa
Yeah,
Bay.
he broke his ankle.
No, but Bradley Chubb is the Von Miller the other side of that defense. So
In 3 games they've averaged 0.8 sacks a game. So
better than 0. We'll see what happens. Scotts, let's hear your Thursday night
It's
prediction.
good.
I think we're finally having our first mega bowl where these guys both coaches are fighting for their jobs, whether they want to admit that or not. I think Denver has a little bit more to fight for because Drew Lock will come back eventually. If they're like somewhat have a winning record, they could still be in it. The Jets, to me, are probably one of the worst teams I've ever seen.
Oh, absolutely. They're terrible. They're terrible. But I still got them tonight.
And it's just like, what the fuck? So I'm going with Brett Rippon, fucking Boise State, baby. Cut 3 times, fucking gonna win it against the Jets.
Fun fact: their parents were going to name him Cal, but they realized that Cal Ripken is way too close to Cal Ripken. Moving on, Sunday at 1 p.m. We decided to change it up a little bit and not go with any power team, so we're going with the 0-3 Vikings versus the 0-3 Houston Texans. Scott, back to you, bud. Who do you got winning?
I'm going with the Houston Texans. And the reason why I think it's going to be a tight game, Houston showed what they could do against a good defense. Eventually, obviously, in the second half, Pittsburgh's defense is just not, it's on a whole nother level. But Deshaun Watson showed what he can do when he has the right time to throw. And his receivers were getting involved. And they got Randall Cobb more involved. So, and David Johnson will come along. But I feel like this is the time where they get the first win. But it's going to be a close one because you don't know what Kirk Cousins is going to show up for Minnesota. So,
All right.
We're sticking with the trend of bad teams. That's why we picked this 1 o'clock game. Because, of course, Thursday night, Jets and Broncos, 2 bad teams. We stuck with the trend. Minnesota, Houston. I've got Minnesota. Kirk Cousins has a winning record, a very good winning record over teams with a below 500 record. He keeps it going Sunday at 1 o'clock. I got Minnesota taking Houston.
I'm going to back Jacob. I have Minnesota taking Houston as well. Adam Thielen is finally starting to see some balls getting thrown his way. He's finally starting to make an impression in their offense, and I feel like it's going to be tough to stop for the Texans defense because they're not the best defense in the league.
Yeah, I think Minnesota's defense is better.
I agree.
And I think the offense with Dalvin Cook, Thielen, if again, a not very good Texans defense at times, I feel like Minnesota is going to be able to score more points.
Mm-hmm.
this is going to be like the Miami Dolphins-Jacksonville game last week.
Yes.
Where y'all just jumped on it. And y'all don't – like, Minnesota's offensive line is one of the worst in the league. Like, Kirk Cousins could not get a pass off to even come close to –
Because the Texans are better?
They can run the ball really well.
I'm saying the offensive line is terrible for pass protection. I'm not saying that Houston's better. I'm just saying it was a prime example. J.J. Watt is due to have a big game.
Well, we'll see. Before we move on to the 4 o'clock game, I'd just like to say, David Johnson, if you're listening, I need a big week out of you in fantasy, buddy. All right. Moving to the 4:30 game, we decided to go with the Buffalo Bills and the Las Vegas Raiders. Who wants to start with predictions? Who you got?
I can take it. I'm going with Buffalo. They stay undefeated. I know it's in Las Vegas where the Raiders pulled off a nice win over the Saints. Brand new stadium. They got to feel good. But they didn't come to play last week against New England.
Nope.
And usually you like to play the level of competition like they did the previous week with New Orleans, and they played well. They kind of fell on their faces against New England. Offensive line didn't look good. I mean, I saw the fumble at the goal line that they ended up calling a safety, but reviewed it, called it a touchdown. I mean, that's just bad. So I've got Buffalo in this one. Even though Josh Allen makes mistakes, he has enough tools in his game to make up for them late. We know he can run. We know he can throw. I think it's too much for LA or Las Vegas. I got Buffalo.
I'm going opposite of you. Listen, man, first of all, the Raiders are undefeated when playing in Vegas. I mean, we all know that. It's a fact. They're 1-0. No, but for real,
Small sample size.
what I predicted would happen against New England is exactly what happened. Darren Waller is their biggest threat on offense right now. Who got shut down in their offense? Darren Waller. Now, the Bills, if they're smart, will try to follow suit and double team him the entire game, but I guarantee Gruden's going to do everything he can to make sure that man gets open because he is a playmaker and he is somebody who is going to help them pull out this win. It's going to be a damn close game, but honestly, I think it's going to come down to a Buffalo Bills mistake at the end of the game. Scott.
He wonders why he's only won 3 games in his picks. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills because they have too much offense right now. Their defense, I gave them a little lag on how it turned out on Sunday. Before, like Jacob said, before that point, they were doing pretty well. Las Vegas kind of disappointed me against New England. Their defense, especially their defensive line, disappointed me. They're still looking for that pass rusher since Khalil Mack left, but I have Josh Allen and the boys winning by 10 this week.
Are we going to trademark that? Josh Allen and the boys? I like it.
I like Josh Allen and the boys.
Yeah.
Josh Allen and the boys.
Yeah.
Jay Allen and the boys.
Hey, this is how we become famous. This is how we make our money. We make trademarks for people.
Dude, let's trade. Honestly, the rest of the season, we talk about the Bills. It's Josh Allen and the boys.
Josh Allen and the boys. Way to go, Scott.
There it is, Scotty.
Hey, he continues to have a good week.
By the way, you keep talking shit about the fact that I only have 3 wins. You're not invited to my birthday party next year. Anyway, we're moving on to the APN game. This is not the best Sunday night game I've seen in a while, but it's going to be fun to watch, I hope. The Eagles versus the 49ers. Scott, we'll start with you, bud.
All right. Let me get off by saying this, is that the Philadelphia Eagles and Carson Wentz situation, it's growing pretty fucking hairy there. I don't think it's right how they're treating Carson Wentz, how they're just saying let's throw in the towel when they have not given him a team to throw to or anyway, or an offensive line. So for him to lose confidence, I can see why he's losing confidence because he's doing so much out there in the field to try to win games, and the Eagles are not helping him out at all. Like not signing anybody, not drafting wide receivers. Godwin's gone. They just don't have anything for him to feel comfortable with. So, and they should have won last week, but terrible coaching decision not to kick the field goal or throw even a Hail Mary pass. I don't know the injury report yet. Are most of the players for San Francisco back, or is that still to be?
I'm pretty sure 4 of them are year-enders. I know Bosa is.
I don't know. I don't think Jimmy G's playing.
No.
I don't know about the running backs. I would assume it's going to be the same guys that played last week.
And 1.
Nick Mullins, Jerick McKinnon, Jeff Wilson.
Mullins did pretty well. And I know it was his Giants, but he did play pretty well.
364 yards.
I'm gonna go with San Francisco on this one.
All right.
I just want to get that point out about the Eagles because I just feel like they're mistreating him.
I agree with you that they're mistreating him, but it's not based around the players around him. It's based on their play calling. Miles Sanders, to me, is one of the more talented running backs in the league. He had 18 carries or 16 carries for 95 yards. It's a very good yards per carry. Why is he not getting more than 20 touches a game? Why is he not being included more in the passing game? Because they want Carson Wentz to air it. They want him to chuck it deep all the time. And that's why the offensive line doesn't look well, because Carson Wentz is having to wait 4 or 5 seconds for his receivers to get downfield before he throws the ball. So the play calling to me is terrible. They should be mixing it up, more short intermediate. The receivers, they're so-so. But if Carson Wentz, if you're going to set him up for success, they can't just chuck the ball deep all the time. They have to be a little more unique and just a little more, I don't even know the right word for it, but not as predictable as throwing the ball deep all the damn time. They have a bunch of guys who run extremely fast in a straight line, and that's what they've been doing, and just chucking the ball deep. They need to run the ball a little more. I know they just lost Dallas Goedert for a significant amount of time, But I feel like Zach Ertz hasn't been as involved as he usually is. You know, Deshaun Jackson, they want to just go deep.
He's had arguments with the offensive coordinator and the GM with his role.
Exactly. And Zach Ertz, I think we would all agree, outside of Travis Kelce, is one of the best tight ends in the league and needs to be involved all the time. Mm-hmm. So, and Miles Sanders needs to be involved all the time.
He's ruining people's fantasy seasons right now.
So I really think Carson Wentz, I still believe in the talent. Like Scott, I know you believe in the talent. You might not believe in the talent around him, but I think the play calling is a huge factor in this and him not being effective.
Well,
with that being said,
he has
with that being said, I got the 49ers winning. Sorry.
Okay, but just to feed off what you're saying, sorry, Michael, it's the fact that since Frank Reich left to go to Indianapolis, that was his offensive coordinator in Philly when they went to Super Bowl, when he almost won MVP. So there's no confidence there. They're not building him for success, and he has a contract that you can't move.
No.
So you're stuck with it. So you have to figure something out.
Well, since I have no more time to talk about this 8 p.m. game because you guys took 5 minutes, I'm going to go with the 49ers, and we're going to move on to the Monday night game. Moving on to the Monday night game.
Well, the Monday night game's a cakewalk for all three of us, so you could have spent a little more time.
That's a good point. You mean you don't want to talk for 10 minutes about the Packers and the Falcons?
Oh, it wasn't 10 minutes. Quit it. It's not being a little baby. I got the Packers. It's an easy one.
Packers, easy one.
Facts.
All right. The last segment of the night. Love doing this. Don't really know at this point if anybody else is interested, but we like to pick a game or a series, if you will, of something we are excited to watch that is not one of our teams. So, Jacob, we'll start with you, and then we're going to go around the table.
So, I'm going with college football this weekend, a little different than what we've done in the past. Auburn and Georgia, two SEC teams, both ranked inside the top 10. I want to see, not only who wins this game, but I want to see the performance from both sides. Are either of these two teams really that good? Are either of these two teams really top 10 worthy teams? We hear it every year, SEC's overrated, blah, 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 whatever. But the fact of the matter is they're both ranked in the top 10. I want to see if they play like top 10 teams. Now, granted, it's for Georgia, I believe it's both of their second games of the year. Either way, I'm curious to see if they actually look like top 10 teams, because I'm going to go here on a little whim and say that they both don't play like it.
I agree with that. Especially Auburn is more an established quarterback. Georgia to me, they are a good team, but they have a quarterback situation maybe brewing after this game, depending on who they want to rock with the hot hand. What's his name? What was the quarterback that played Saturday? Michael?
Number 13. I can't think of his name. He was our backup last year.
Yeah, and JT Daniels is back now. So there may be a quarterback controversy during this game, especially with that pass rush by Auburn, but that's going to be an interesting game to watch.
I'm pretty sure JT Daniels is getting the start, and you're referring to Stetson Bennett, by the way.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. But with my game, I'm going college football as well. I'm interested to see the Alabama-Texas A&M. This is the third year with Jimbo Fisher, I believe. Jacob?
Yes.
I think I'm right on third year.
Yep, year 3.
It seems, I think this is 1 year where we started to see what Jimbo Fisher, if he can knock it in the SEC. It seems like he has the Texas A&M team that's right there in the top 15, and then they face the real competition of the SEC, like in Alabama, and they do not show up. And their offense are abysmal, and it's just, they don't show up. So I'm waiting to see that signature win that he needs to get at Texas A&M to say he's part of the SEC officially. So I'll be interested to see in Alabama's quarterback in his second start. So it'll be interesting to see with him too if he's still going to be the successor from Tua.
So I'm getting away from college football and I'm going into baseball. Starting Monday, the ALDS. I'm actually, and this is a little out of character for me, I'm very excited to watch the Rays and the Yankees ALDS series. either 4, possibly a Game 5 series. I think it's going to be very back and forth. I think it's going to be very intense to watch. And to be honest, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw benches cleared. It's just the Rays are coming in as this hot team who has nobody who can stop them, they feel like right now. And the Yankees are the ones who are sitting there thinking, we are top dog in the AL East. We've been top dog in the AL East. You can't stop us. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen. Now, I mean, I wish both teams lost, but I know that's not the case. So I'll be excited to see what happens. And to be completely honest with you, I hope the Rays pull it out. I'm pretty sure that's everything we have, guys. Is there any last closing comments you'd like to make?
I'm good. Let's go Jets.
All right, gents, we are...
J-E-T-S, Jets.
I hope they lose now just because of that. Josh Allen and the boys. All right, y'all, it's East Coast Rivals. We are signing out. Till next time. Talk to you guys soon.